Hi, management class. Dr. Bowen here. This is Kawai. She wanted to come up and say hello as she saw me recording a video a little earlier and got pretty curious about what was going on. So she just wanted to say hi. Now, let's get into what I wanted to give you a quick update on, and that's Chapter 11, the ethical counseling role. I'm sure that by now you've read the chapter, and I want to remind you to use the CERT formula to remember why we do the ethical counseling role and to help you think about explaining it to others as well as remembering what's involved. And that, of course, is credibility, ethics, relationships, and trust. We want to increase and heighten all of those things for our organizations, and that makes us better communicators. It makes us more respected in our industry. It makes us more trustworthy. There are many ethical counselors in the highest level of issues management today. The Page Society that I'm a member of has a lot of these folks, probably somewhere around 700 of them, including all of the Fortune 500 for the most part, as well as some nonprofits and other types of organizations, educational institutions as well. And I think that those folks are considered the top thought leaders of the field because they are doing issues management. They advise on ethics a lot, but it depends on the industry you're in, how conflictual that industry is, how severe the problems may be that the organization faces, whether you're business to business or business to consumer, and of course how large the organization is as well, whether it's global, multinational, or smaller, regional, etc. The larger you are and the more complicated the environment you work in, the more ethical issues you're going to have to face, the more issues management you're going to do as well. And always incorporating ethics into your issues management helps you to prevent and resolve problems before they become crises, which of course is our goal. So thinking about the ethical counsel approaches, to briefly go over utilitarianism, that's the chart on page 128 that gives you a really good simplified means of a utilitarian analysis. It is based on consequences, so you want to do the right thing in terms of creating the greater good for the greatest number of people while minimizing harms. So that's actually called the maxims principle, where you want to maximize good, minimize harms. So applying the maxims principle to an organization's corporate social responsibility and philanthropy efforts, for example, can be very helpful because you really do want to understand how many people you can help with your philanthropic activities. Another good example of where you can see it is in the U.S. legal system, as well as our vaccination regulations. The reason you're required to provide your vaccination records to come to school at South Carolina is because it's legislated that it's the greater good for all of us if we are all vaccinated. Minimizing harms means they do recognize some people are going to be allergic to vaccines, even have some fatalities, but the overall majority of people will be benefited because we have eliminated measles, mumps, rubella from the classroom, for example. So that is a utilitarian-based reasoning in terms of the ethics of why the government can mandate that you must have a vaccine. So that's a good example of utilitarianism. Keep in mind, though, there are some weaknesses that you have to guard against. So I always recommend trying to think about deontology or virtue ethics at very least. Hopefully deontology, if you have just one spare minute, you can do a quick deontological analysis thinking about what is your duty? What's the moral principle that you're trying to defend when you say, I want to do the right thing? And is the decision reversible? Could you be on the receiving end of that decision? Does it maintain dignity and respect for all of the involved stakeholders? That's the humanity form of the categorical imperative. And then finally, the third form is the goodwill or good intention. Are you doing an action because it's the right thing to do alone? Or are you trying to cover several bases with it? It needs to be because it's the right thing to do alone. So it's made out of good intention and goodwill that insulates you from criticism and helps protect the organization as well when you're no longer acting on selfishness, prudential self-interest, or capriciousness. So those three forms of categorical imperative will help you greatly in advising your dominant coalition, your supervisor, your team members, or the folks who report to you. If you think through it just quickly like I just did, you're always going to have a more ethical decision than if you just try to do it based on gut instinct or experience, what's worked in the past, taking a guess, not thinking about ethics, which is, of course, not what we're talking about when we're saying we're the ethical counselors. And we know that people around the world are enacting this role. I've had a number of great conversations with folks who give me good examples, such as integrative problem solving and having surgical scissors manufactured by children in Pakistan no longer purchased by the organization, but rather than just leaving those children unemployed and to starve, they were enrolled in educational programs and provided some meals at the place so that they could learn during the day and then become productive in some other way than using child labor. So integrative problem solving is what we're after, and that is innovative, but it also integrates the ideas and the values of others so that you try to understand their perspective with moral sensitivity and empathy, and also thinking through the merit of those decisions with rationality, thinking, is there a way we can integrate what they need and want from us into our organization? If you do, your decisions are going to be better in the long term because they'll be more enduring. So thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to seeing you in our next video chat. Bye-bye.